All right. Well, shalom, complete and total peace to each and every one of you. I hope that your life is going well and you're starting to gain wisdom and understanding. I can assure you there are many people in this society that are quite some ways away from that event yet. And the beauty is that all of us are the same thing as far as that goes. And please, I'm not talking because I have knowledge of, but I don't have understanding of the soulless people and who they are and how they are. I know that I've known some that I believe were that, but as all of us have, if you stop and think about it. But the reality of the matter is that we are light, we are blessed. That's good to know, but now we have to uncover what that means. And so instead of what if I sowed into you today, instead of us trying to accomplish anything, we just begin to walk in a truth and to allow ourselves to grow into the belief of it. So what do I mean by that? I shared with you all the other day. It's very well known in the psychological world that we are mind. The Hermetic principles tell us, Thoth tells us, all forms of ancient mysticism tell us that we are mind, that we are divine, that we are light, that we are part, a drop in the ocean that's source. We are a drop of light in the ocean of source's light. And so I think really maybe for some people they may be still back at struggling with that because of who they are. And so if you are that and you have heard some truths and they are positively affecting your life, I would like for you to just stop and reflect on that thought process and begin to think about that. You know, all of our lives, we've been told by somebody we need to do something. And it's really not until we find out that we don't necessarily need to do anything, but doing something would be very beneficial to us. And you say, well, that sounds like, because there's a lot of thought processes that people have when we start letting go of things that we've hold on. Let's say all your life you've been a very controlling person. You have ego, you don't know you have ego. You have ego that you don't know that you have, and the way that your ego manifests is that it thinks that you're supposed to control every situation. As long as you stay in that rat race, that cyclical wheel, as long as you stay there, that's where you will remain. But the minute that you can begin to be honest enough with yourself to embrace the reality that ego is not me. So if you're here with me tonight and you've learned and you've been seeing some truth and your life is changing, and maybe you even recognize it in subtle ways, but I've had people contact me who have not recognized it in subtle ways. They begin to recognize it in much more profound ways. And if it is, then I would just like you to say these little kind words with me. It's not for me, it's for you. I am light. Can you say that? Can you say that? I am light. Look how hard that was. Do you know that that's really the only thing that we need to know? Now, when I say that, please don't be the person who goes, okay, I can walk around saying I am light, and that's not the case at all. But if we know all of these other things, whether it be in religion, and when I say that, we're talking organized religions, or whether you're in spiritualism, or whether you're in New Age spiritualism, or whether you're just a Texas hillbilly who thinks they have a picture of what reality is, the truth of the matter is every one of those different branches can only proceed when they begin to recognize and remember that we are light. Just so you know, one of the themes that has come through in many things that I have listened to, and it came to my attention, so I'm jumping about 5 different rabbit holes right now. I do that often. I move pretty fast, but we oftentimes have allowed ourselves to get hung up in things, and I think that learning and understanding the dissonance, which is so subtle in our lives oftentimes. I wish that all of us could go back and go through decisions we've made and see that we made it and we made that choice, but inside of us we weren't at peace with it. And I want to say to you tonight, with this concept of I am light, one of the things that we have to will really bless our life is when we first off actually begin experientially to believe that we really are divine, that you are light. Listen, Yeshua wasn't playing when he told us that we are the light of the world. He wasn't playing. That wasn't a metaphor. It wasn't. He meant exactly what he said, and he actually said it quite often. And for those of you who followed with me for a while, they have now uncovered some other scrolls. I think it was 7 sets of scrolls that were supposedly, and they'll be validated, but were supposedly written by Yeshua himself. So now not apostles writing what went on, which none of that can you completely believe, but now we're starting to have the universe bring to us. Well, if you understand that the universe doesn't lose track of anything, complete consciousness knows everything completely. And I love that because we're functioning in a not complete conscious state, friends, but we are complete consciousness when we take our bath and we get this mud that we call human off of us. And that doesn't mean don't it's so easy. I've heard all kinds of stuff. People just throw their hands up and say, to hell with it. I'm not doing anything. I'm just the universe will come down and angels will come and, bring me bags full of money. And unfortunately, friends, that ain't ever going to happen unless Source chooses to. But so far, we haven't really seen that a whole bunch. But we have seen a huge quantity of people who are becoming rich and have nothing more than they had beforehand. And so that's really the true riches, is when you have peace in your heart. But I would urge and I would encourage each and every one of you to begin to fall in love with the universe and fall in love with yourself. If you haven't begun, maybe you're starting to see little glimpses. I certainly hope for everybody that you are starting to see little glimpses, but it doesn't make your flaws, it doesn't make your failings go away. But when you're conscious enough to begin to accept responsibility with your faults, your flaws, and not let that destroy you, instead of running from them or going to the programming that lives and runs in us inherently, when we begin to recognize that, and instead of running from who we are, we stop and turn around and face who we are, man, the world is about to shift massively when that happens. And so I am not ego. I do have an ego mind. I have a statistical mind, but I also have a higher mind. And which of those 3 I allow to control my life inevitably will determine everything. It has nothing to do with how much stuff you possess. It has nothing to do with how much you can, how much you can do, how much you can generate. It doesn't have anything to do with any of those systems that we are sold. And they keep us in that because you're either in a place of being so high that no one can get to you, that is to say, if you're successful, or of being so low because you're not successful. And how about if we just were okay with ourselves wherever we are? How weird do you think that would be for you? Maybe for some of you, it wouldn't be so weird. There are very humble people that just naturally are humble. But for the most part, all of us have those things. And so coming to the reality that you're not broken, that you may need to rectify some things. You may need to take care of some things that either have been left undone because of where you've been functioning. But none of that still has the power to make you not divine. Wow. That's a long ways difference from Christianity, huh? I have to tell you, man, this thing is like, it's crazy. It's crazy amazing. The love that we all are. And I want to say this to you. So I got you to say this, and I'm gonna goad you. I'm constantly a goader. I like to go fishing. Everybody around here, they know that all too well, that I often throw a line. But I want to sow good seeds of love and kindness to you. We are love. If you can get rid of that human, you'll be amazed at how amazing you are. And I think that more and more people are starting to see that. It's going to be a long journey. There's been some information that comes that for about the next 10 to 20 years is going to be really potent shift of what we're seeing. And what will happen is humanity will come out of that drastically changed. In fact, this year is one of the beginnings of it. The year of 2026 spiritually for each and every one of you is what is called worldwide as the year of remembering. Okay? Has it been going on for some people for quite some time? Absolutely. Those are the light workers that have been fighting the fight when you didn't even care about the fight. But here's the other side of it. We're now talking about, because of their light shining, it has made it easier for all of us to find our light. And as people hook up and connect and release and allow and wash and expose, it's going to make it easier on even more people. So what's coming is, and we're already in it, but it is going to continue to accelerate. This world is going to be dynamic. The world's not going to look the same in December when December's over with, friends. 2027 is set up for its own phase, but 2026 is going to be really radically different. And so I hope that you guys will be able to do these things. And yes, I speak affirmations, and hopefully I have no clue who does or doesn't say the words is not what I really want. What I want you to do is feel the words. And if you don't feel them, then they're just words anyways. But when you feel them, they become gnosis, or hidden internal knowledge. And that's what the Gnostics are all about, is gnosis, truth, knowledge. And so I hope that each and every one of you would take a second with me, goofy little thing. And I may seem like I'm wandering. I'm really not. I am sowing seeds of love and mercy. But I really would like for you guys to understand that this is a piece of it. If you really believe that you are light, I am light. You don't have to say it to impress people. Say it because you know that that's true. And if that is true for you, then the next thing that I want to sow into that with you is, I would like everyone who's hearing this today, tomorrow, 5 years from now, I would like you to do one simple little more affirmation today, and then I'll leave you alone. And that is this, that I am also love. And if you can say that from your heart, then you're ready. If you can't say that from your heart and honestly feel it, it doesn't mean you're lost. You're not going to hell. It simply means that you're not right. You're not prepared yet. Maybe you have more ego issues you need to deal with. But I promise you, whether you believe it or not, I am going to charge the air by telling you that you are love. Whether you know it or don't, doesn't change me knowing it. And so I hope you guys will grab a hold of this. What is coming for humanity is going to be so freaking amazing. It ain't even funny. What would it be like if people actually loved each other? I don't know about you guys, but I thought we had to die to go to that. And the truth is if we don't go to that, we're already dead. So, wow. I'm really stoked. It's been a wonderful blessing. Been a wonderful time. Lots of truth is coming out all over if you'll attune your ears. If you are hungry for truth, the universe will send you truth. And so I hope each and every one of you, though, can grab a hold of that. We're shifting. We started this thing, and I've been taking everybody who's with me and has been with me, I'm taking you guys on a 15-year journey that isn't but a year and a half long, okay? I promise you there are people who wish they had heard this message a long time ago that never got to hear it. And so when you begin, why is it important that I recognize that I'm light? Because if you can't recognize your light, then if you can take this in the right spirit, then there really is no hope for you. Because the only hope for us is that we're something other than what we see. That's why there's so many people in our society. Do you not see the mental illness that's running? Why do you think mental illness is a bad thing in our society? Well, you only need to look at the outworking that comes from mental illness. What comes from it? You have people who are living in horrible chaos. You have people who are hurting other people with no consciousness of it. So, of course, it affects every one of us. That's the bad side. But I'm going to tell you the side that we have to focus on, which is the reality that you being light affects this world, friend. If you feel like you're insignificant and you're nobody, and I know many people who've been basically programmed their whole life that I was done that way as well by my own family. And you know what? It's not important anymore. If that is their picture of reality, that is their picture of reality. But you know, one of the great things about recognizing that you are love and that you are light, and because of being love and light, I can also be peace. You know what the blessing that comes out of that is? You no longer are concerned with people's negative thoughts of you. Do what's right and be proud of who you are and love yourself and continue on no matter who doesn't like you. And sometimes in the past, I've wanted people that didn't like me to like me just because they didn't like me. You know what I'm saying? I think we've all done that. You try to impress people, and you're always disappointed because you never did impress them. You know, so for each and every one of us, it's vitally important, friends. I did a little research, and it's probably possible that we may not go anywhere more than where we are here today. I have so much stuff, and it has nothing to do with Helena, but I kind of got a little revelation of peace that I understand now why my peace and my journey, because being a Christian pastor for 20 years, I got to see the damage that was done by organized religion. And I knew a lot of really good people, but I have to tell you, a lot of those really good people were really screwed up people. Quite honestly. Well, and Dave says all of them, and I agree with that, but some a lot more so than others, let me say that. And so, as we go along, as Yeshua was constantly in the state of compassion. And some of you, I'm going to guess, are already starting to move in to a realm, and it may be a little weird and it may be a little foreign to you, that all of a sudden where you would have been, if you'll pardon my language, would have been a hard ass, you're all of a sudden starting to find yourself view things from a different perspective. If you are that, please do not deter it. The coming to the revelation that I am divine and that I am God, one of the purposes is to reveal who his nature is. His nature is full of love and kindness. You find that all over the Bible, but you can't get there from their place. Okay? What does it mean? What does real love mean? I've done lots of things where I did really good things, but they weren't done in love. They were done because I felt forced by other forces. You know, I had somebody that came to my church one time and they said, well, you have to do such and such because that's what churches do. And I thought that's so strange. I thought, well, I'm not quite sure that I agree with that statement. Just because somebody told you that this is what right is doesn't mean that that's right. And so, as we go along, part of this remembering is you remembering who you are. That's really the crux of this whole thing that is going on worldwide. People are going, but guess what they are? Here's the piece that if you haven't considered, you need to consider. Who are they going to find out that they are? And can we know who we are? You have all of yourself that is so programmed into you, you function by it. I do want you to understand that you are running your life according to the programs that you put in place. I've said often that your parents are your programmers, and your grandparents are your programmers, and your neighborhood is your programmers, and your school is your programmers, and all of those things are very true. But I know enough about human nature to know that those things have an effect in the early part of our life, and parts of them may go with us through the rest of our life. But there is a point when almost every person I've ever met chose a path that they were not raised in. So I'm saying to you today, some of the things that you think are so you are simply thoughts that your human mind created programs, and you are running them on autopilot, and that is what you are. That is your personality, is your programming that is running on autopilot. So when you look at yourself and you write it off because that's just me, you may want to rethink that again. How do the archons function? I'll give you some pieces because many still have lots of apprehensions about the archons, and we're not supposed to be in a battle with them. We are higher than they are. They are not divine. They are eternal, but they're not divine. And you need to get that right in your mind. They are eternal. As far as I know, they don't have archon funerals, but they're not divine. What do we have? We were, before anything was, divine. And I think that's really worth shouting about, friends. Because God, if I could say this in such potency and in such love to every person who ever hears this, you are infinitely more than you have any understanding of. When you get to a place where you think you can realize how amazing you are, there's still further that you have no knowledge of. The ability of true, perfect humans to love. And just so you know, when they tell you that to be perfect in the Bible, that is a mystical statement, and that is also a mystical state that we are expected to live in as we unleash our light. Don't let anyone convince you any longer that you are not capable of being perfect. Rather, you should view that as, I am capable of being perfect, but my human is not living up to that right now. That shift will go. If we will continue and not quit, and if we will continue on, we will see the shift where higher consciousness begins to rule each one of us individually. Wow. What if you never had to say, I was sorry again, because you never did anything that deserved to be sorry about? What would that be like to you, dear one? What would that mean in your everyday life? If you went and you only did the things that were right and you did them the first time, so you didn't have to constantly keep redoing, trying to make up. See, whether you understand the words that I'm saying right now or not, friends, those are archonic ploys. That's one of the ways that they use your mind. Because you stay tied in to that concept of shame and guilt and repentance. What if there was no need for you to have repentance because you never did anything against yourself or against other people that was necessary, that needed? Well, how do you get there? You get there through mindfulness. Another beautiful thing that has come out recently, part of what is going on in 2026 is it is the universe. So if you sometimes feel confused, have any of you heard any of these truths that I've shared and you felt confused because you couldn't understand them? If you're in that state, it's okay, sweetheart. The universe knows that. What is happening to humanity right now, everyone that listens to my teachings, everyone who's listening to the good teachings that are coming out all over this earth, every one of you that are doing that, the universe is stretching and exposing and awakening your human mind. Intelligence and intellect is increasing whether you realize it or not. Now you say, well, the schools that we spend billions of dollars on are producing children that can't read third grade books when they graduate. You know what? That's true. But you don't have to be one of those. Okay? You have a choice to be sovereign and to say, I refuse the lowness anymore. So as the song that Mr. Brooks sang a few years back, when he told you that his friends were in low places, you just let him stay there. How about you begin to form a new life, which is, I have friends and they are in high places. And I'm not talking about high from weed or drugs, and I'm not talking about high and mighty from power, and I'm not talking about high because they have money. I'm talking about people that are high consciousness people. Their vibrations, you will find out eventually, if you haven't yet. You can go into the presence of people and you will actually turn them off when you begin to move into the frequency that we are as light. Very, very powerful, very potent. I've already encountered this multiple times, and it didn't resonate with them. Why? Because they're not resonating at the frequency that I am. They can't hang. Okay? You can't play games with this stuff. It's real. It's happening every day. Whether you choose to believe it or choose not to believe it is a choice, and that's all it is. It doesn't change reality. So, for each and every one of us, as we go through the rest of this year, if you will understand that the universe right now is working a work in humanity, and those who are and who will awaken, I hate to say that Dolores Cannon did tell us that there would be those people who never awoke. That's hard because everybody wants to think because everybody has light, everybody will make the choice. But see, you can't get rid of our ability for free will. Somebody can be the purest, goldest, beautifulest light in the world and choose not to explore that, and they will never become that. They are that, but they'll never function in it when I say explore. And so, but the rest also are not going to be held captive because there are people who choose not to. In fact, before this is all over with and we come to the understanding and some of these mystical power things that are going to start waking up, like telepathy and shifting dimensions, which I think is something that some people will experience not that long. People are already at a really great rate or starting to open to shifting dimensions and shifting timelines, and there are many things that are coming out. I practiced an exercise today of shifting time. It's actually a teaching Yeshua taught that none of you would have ever had an idea about if I hadn't said something, and whoever else says something about it. But there are actually power words in the spirit realm that we can have access to. It's how Yeshua did the things he did. I don't know about y'all. I went back to Christianity because I believed that there was a possibility to do the things that Yeshua said, just like he said. And if you're okay not seeing them, that's fine, but I'm not okay with it. I believe we are power, and I'm not talking about political power. I'm not talking about a negative power. I'm talking about the power that we are as divine beings. And so, if you are feeling that, then you're tracking true. And if you're not feeling that, maybe Source is bringing you to a place so that you can begin to hear, and he will ignite your mind. The universe will ignite your mind, and your frequencies will begin to shift. But just so you understand, we have a fixed frequency. There's a little bit of misgivings about all of this frequency stuff. Frequency stuff is based on the amount of light that we've exposed. So listen to this. The people who are base are very, very, very covered up by their human mind. And so as you open your human mind and as you allow the light to come out in little rays and stuff, what you will begin to find is that those things will begin to shift for you. So I hope that I hope that you're experiencing some of this. I hope that you're starting to see, because even in ways that you can't imagine, even in our government, although it looks pretty chaotic right now, it's part of the plan, folks. It's part of the plan. If I can say this in the kindest way, and I don't really care if you're a Democrat or a Republican, if I can say this in the kindest way, all of these things are either for the purpose of bringing light, or they're for the purpose of exposing the other side. There are lots of people who hate Republicans who are starting to see that most of these other people have lost their minds. Not all of them. There's certainly going to be people that can't see it 5 years from now. They'll read the history books and say, well, that isn't how it was. So just because there's some, you can't really get hung up on that. I hope all of us will continue and will grow in learning how to come to peace with ourselves. Say it with me. I am peace. See, I know those three things are really simple to you. That I am peace, and I am light, and I am love. But friends, if that's not who you are, do you really want to conjure in your mind the reality that if that's not who you are in your higher self, what you are really then? It's not just an aphorism. It's a way of life. It's a believing. It's a being. It's direct revelation from the universe itself. I didn't just wake up one day and go, well, I think today I'll be light. No, that's what the mindless people are doing when they wake up as a boy and think they're a girl. Okay? Nothing wrong with it, and those people are loved, and they're light inside of that stuff too, which is another mind-boggling revelation for me, because I was told all them people was going to get what they deserved. They was going to hell. And it ain't so. So I guess you can then choose at this point to do whatever you want to do. For all of those that have those, there's no reason to hate them. They're different than you, and maybe there is a sickness, maybe there is something mental. But whether there is or there isn't is irrelevant. Doesn't change one iota how you're supposed to behave. Doesn't change one iota how you're supposed to be loved. And so now you're only loved to those people that you think are lovable? Friend, if you dare to allow that sickness inside your brain, you're as worse off as they are. Okay? I'm just telling you, this crap in our society called race and gender, that crap needs to go. And it doesn't have anything to do with I'm saying there is no gender. I'm talking about the whole battle in our society that's struggling over these things. Okay? The American Indian have tales of people who were confused about what they were. There were stories of American Indians and guys who thought they were girls wearing leather buckskin dresses, and they didn't shoot a bow, and they didn't hunt, and they didn't fight. And the American Indian people accepted them and actually saw them, and in some ways even revered them, because they were so spiritually different from the norm. Where are we at today? I look at myself and I get ashamed of myself when I think about these things. We're so far from love, folks. If you want to know how far we are from anything, we're farthest from love. But the beauty is that we're headed in that direction. Inevitably, that's where we're going to end up at. And people will truly love each other. People will truly help each other simply because I love you. And that's a scary thing because we encounter so many people in our lives that don't love and aren't high consciousness, and they use people like that as stepping stools. Well, if I do too much nice, then this person is just going to keep taking advantage of me. And you know what? That has to play into your mindset. You have to understand that there is truth in that. Do we have to protect ourselves? Of course we do. So I hope that you guys will grab a hold of some of these things. But I do want you to understand that you're supposed to be one of the people who brings in. Okay, so this is kind of seems to get passed off on the spirit realm. If you have consciousness that you are spirit, then you already have the answer to how spirit gets spread. It gets spread by you. Think about if you understood the power that you possess, that I talk about how amazing we are. What if you realized that just simply you being in the presence of low frequency people raises their frequency? Would you do it? Because it is true. Now I'm going to give you the real divine shift here. If you haven't had that thought process, I would encourage you to and engage you to begin to walk tomorrow with that knowledge in hand, in front of you, not behind you where you left it, in front of you. You say, well, isn't that prideful if I walk into a building full of people and I say, you people are all going to be blessed because I came in here? I guess that would depend on whether that is an egoic statement or whether that is a statement of reality from the spirit realm. Because in the reality of the spirit realm, everywhere you go is blessed simply because you're there. And you can say that without being in ego or pride. It is true. I go to the Walmart. Shit, I bless that place the minute I walk through the doors. That's why they empty my billfold every time I do. Only kidding. But the truth of the matter is, guys, we're living in a really amazing time, and if you are functioning in the predominant of you is carnal, then you're going to continue to look at the world through the eyes that you have. But I know my findings is everywhere, all over the place. There are people that are waking up and realizing that they have had a perspective that isn't truth. And I hope that you're one of them. I hope if you've been with me any time, you've already begun to see the subtle shifts and the changes. Maybe you just wake up and a thought that you would have never had, you all of a sudden have it. Or maybe a thought that you would have had, you don't have anymore. And because now is the time. The time I spoke of 30 plus years ago when I said this is going to be the most amazing time in our history to be alive. My grandfather missed it. I know, I believe with all of my heart, if my grandfather was here, he would be standing on the box telling everybody that they were light. I believe that of him with all of my heart. I saw how he loved what he was told was the truth. The problem was what he was told was truth is corrupt. And so were you. So if you will just dare to learn to be kind to yourself again. And if you can figure out how to come to that, if you can figure out how it is to find peace and how to separate yourself from your emotions and not be so reactionary and not defend yourself and fight your ego so that everything isn't about you, and you begin to then look at people and see them in love's eyes, folks, the world's changing. Question today is are you going to change with it? It's not going to stop just because you choose not to. But I can tell you one thing that we all have the power to do. It will be hastened in by you believing and being a part of it. And so we love you. We're nobody and we're nothing. I had somebody ask me, well, what gives you the authority? I said, I don't need no damn authority. I know what source has been telling me my whole life, and you think your words are going to somehow trip me up to what my authority is? I am sovereign. I am spirit. I am light. I don't need anybody's approval for anything. And neither do we. You, me, and all the others. So blessings to each and every one of you. I hope that you'll take some of this that I've said. I know that it might seem to you rambling, but it may be the most blessed rambling that you've ever heard. And so I hope that you'll take that in love and let it soak in. I hope that you will maybe do some of the things that I've shared with. I realize it is very difficult, it seems like sometimes, but take 5 minutes. Take 5 minutes and sit with your back straight somewhere. Close your eyes. Focus on your breathing. And you'll be amazed at what comes out of that. We love you guys, and I hope that you all will experience the fullness of what's going on in this wonderful and amazing universe that we are. You are the universe. Shalom and peace to each and every one of you. Namaste.